After you remove the bodywork and the coolant reservoir, make a mark on the top coolant hose, which goes from the top of the cylinder to the top of the radiator on the left side of the bike. The mark should be right about level with the valve cover gasket, as you can see here. Once you cut the cylinder to radiator hose at the mark, you need to remove the three 8mm bolts from the fitting. Inside you'll find the stock thermostat, which you need to remove. Once you get the hose going to the top of the cylinder off and pull the thermostat out, take the small flat O-ring, lubricate it in coolant, and place it in where the old thermostat was, and remount the old thermostat connector. When tightening the 3 bolts on the thermostat housing, screw them in finger tight, then go around and add a quarter turn to each one until they're snug. If you just tighten them one at a time, there's a very good chance that you'll snap one of the ears off. Trial fit the Thermo-Bob in the top hose. Make sure it points towards the radiator. The Thermo-Bob should not be touching anything: valve cover, frame, exhaust, or coolant reservoir when you hold that up. On the bottom hose that goes from the water pump to the bottom of the radiator, it's the rearward hose that connects to here, not the one that goes to the cylinder, and it connects to the radiator right on that one. There'll be a Phillips screwdriver to get these hose clamps off. You want the radiator side of the hose, so that's the one without the kink, and you want to measure and cut out from 2 1/4 to 3 inches of the hose from the radiator end. So we got 2 1/4 here and 3 inches from the end marked out. After you get the 3/4 inch section of hose cut out, put in the lower hose bypass unit and dip each end of the bypass hose in the coolant to lubricate it, wipe off the outside, and stick that on the 45-degree barb so that it curves up, or sort of curves away from the hose, and if you look straight at it, it should be offset a little bit. Next, reinstall the lower hose, re-clamp it, both on the water pump side and the radiator side. Don't tighten these clamps yet. You might need to rotate the T-fitting and determine if you need to cut the hose any. It came long so that you have room to cut. After you cut the bypass hose to the required length, slip it on the barb and make sure that the hoses won't rub on anything and get a hole in them. If everything checks out, slide the hose clamps up, tighten them, tighten the one on the bypass hose, and installation is complete. If you need minor tweaking in one direction, you can use the cable tie that came with it and use that to pull it towards any direction that you can. I'm probably going to use mine to hold it away from the engine a bit. So we'll see how that works. Make sure that nothing is kinked, like the bypass hose. If you left that too long, it'll probably get kinked. And make sure that these hoses are not kinked. No kinks in the hose that you took out, and you should be good to go. Don't tighten these clamps yet. You might need to rotate the T-fitting